Thanks, Jade. I mean, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I suppose like even before we like really start like the podcast in general, and
Yeah.
it's always interesting because you've kind of made like a few transitions. Like you first started out with Miss Singapore Universe, and then you became an actress, and then a social media personality, and then you're also developing your business as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. But I'm also curious, like, how would you choose to define yourself?
Do you know that I have to say that is probably my least favorite question, whether in a professional context or even like at a party. And
Fair enough.
yeah, I'm not gonna get upset with you, but it's my least favorite question because I don't know how to answer that in a concise way, right? I think that, and especially, I guess I get different permutations of the question. Also things like, so you don't do TV anymore, so you don't do radio anymore. And the short answer is, actually, there is no short answer. Okay, the long answer,
It's okay.
right?
I don't mind. I can take the long answer.
Okay, the long answer is I feel like these are all things that I still do. It's just that with limited time, I've had to pick, right? I mean, there are things along the way that I've realized that I don't like doing as much. Like I don't really like acting, but I like presenting. So I actually host a lot of live events still. And I host stuff on my own platforms, but also for brands. Increasingly a lot of this work is online rather than on TV. Also just because of the medium and, consumer consumption patterns have changed. So to me, it's still the same skill, it's just on a different medium. And then to do with the business part of things, I think that's something that I've always had, is just to what extent, right? So 3 years ago, I started DELLAA, which is a platform that helps people live bigger, better, and brighter. And that was the vision, and it sort of accumulated in like a website and content, right? And then so after that, I'm just taking it one step further with two other partners, Sheila Sim and Claire of the Positive Movement. So we've set up Wonder and Wellness, and it's just that I guess with DELLAA, it's more like content that's online, and with Wonder and Wellness, it's more face-to-face content and also online, but it's live, like live webinars on Zoom, live sessions on Zoom, and also increasingly we are in the midst of planning retreats and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know how to answer you in a short way, right? And I think it's hard because in the society we live in, it makes it very messy and hard for people to understand. They're like, what do you
Right.
actually do? So sometimes like the short answer is I don't work at all or I just make money, but the long answer is that, I mean, it's just all parts of my life that I guess I make a living from. It's just all sort of connected, but they're all kind of different at the same time.
Right. So I suppose maybe to be fair to you as well, maybe I can rephrase the question in a sense that what are you most passionate about these days?
I've always been passionate about connecting with people, right? So that hasn't changed, and that is probably also a product of my extreme extroverted personality, because in school they made us take personality tests and stuff like that, and my friends are like, how is it possible for a person to be 99% extroverted? I said, I don't know, but it's just the way that I am.
Yeah.
And also I'm passionate about that, but increasingly it's not just making the connections, but finding a way to help people be happier. I've gone through periods in my life where life wasn't always that happy, even though I feel like I've been quite blessed as far as life is concerned, right? Which kind of doesn't make sense if you think about it, right? So I realize a lot of it is to do with our sense of what's inside us. And there's a lot of it is to do with perspective and things like that. And that's why I've taken up positive psychology. And previously with DELLAA, without the actual academic training in it, I was already trying to spread that message, as I realized a lot of friends around me were very unhappy. But now I guess I've started studying because I want to have a more science-based approach to it, just to be able to help people feel happier. And a huge part of feeling happier, honestly, is in our human connection. So people say they don't need people, they don't like people. Yeah, I mean, people of course need people to a different degree. Like extroverts need it a bit more than introverts, but actually we all do need people, and the quality of our human relationships is a huge part of what defines whether we're happy or not.
Right. I think we're polar opposites. If you're 99% extroverted, I must be 99% introverted because it like totally drains my energy like
Yeah.
to hang out with so many people. But having said that, I absolutely agree with you. Like the community and the people you're around with, it really changes your perspective on life because sometimes it's, at least in my experience, it kind of simplifies the fact that that's all you need, having that
Yeah.
love and support around you,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever is going on. Have you found that to be true for yourself as well?
It's definitely true. I mean, of course, like I would have pegged you definitely for the more introverted person. Actually, you know what? A lot of people who create content online are more introverted than extroverted. And I guess it makes sense, right? That's why we create content online. So I'm actually, I would say, a bit more of an anomaly, in this space at least.
Right.
But I'd say that it's not the quantity, and that's something that even as an extrovert I have learned. I have a lot of people in my life and a lot of friends. It's true, and I do have a lot of energy. So, and it doesn't drain me, right? As an extrovert, it energizes me. So I actually do have a lot more capacity to connect and find time for people. But I've realized that it's the quality, so something's got to give. So with only 24 hours in a day, I've let certain friendships slide and I've made the time to strengthen the ones that really matter. Right. And I think like for you as an introvert, yeah, you may not want to meet someone all the time, every waking moment of the day, but I'm sure the few connections that you have are very treasured and they are very high quality. Right. And that's also a lesson that I've had to learn from introverts. Right. That actually it's really about the quality, and science has proven the same as well. Like the depth and the level of connection that we have is what defines whether a relationship is good or not, and not the number of relationships we have.
Yeah, because I mean, I suppose energy is finite. Like even if you're extroverted, I mean, there's only so much you can give to people.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I mean, if you're 99% an extrovert, like how was circuit breaker for you and the lockdown? I mean, that must have been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, trust me, Nick, it was a real challenge. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It happened it didn't help that my birthday was on the 6th of April, and on the 7th we went into lockdown. I mean, it's good and not good.
Yeah.
The good thing is I got to celebrate on the day itself, like normally. And then I was like, all right, no, I can do this. It's just a month. Don't be stupid. Just deal with it, right? And I had all these plans. I was going to declutter my house and stuff like that. But by the third day in, I broke down. I literally and figuratively broke down. I was clearing my room and I burst into tears. I know it sounds very silly, but at that point it was like, so I can't, I'm so used to meeting at least 2 to 3 different friends, like from different groups or different groups of friends in a day. And to go from that to not meeting anyone was really, really tough. And so I actually burst into tears. I was like, I cannot cope. But in true extrovert style, I called up some of my friends.
Right.
Video called, because these are really close friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm falling apart. I called my mom, the baby that I am, called my mom. And that was not a fun point at all, right? But then I think a lot of what I studied in positive psychology, and I guess another wrong assumption is that just because you are either even more so if you are a psychologist or if you study this stuff that you would not get affected, and that is so not true. It's just that we, I guess, are a bit more equipped with tools and skills on how to cope with it. So I think a lot of my studies really helped, and so I applied a lot of what I learned into the time spent in the circuit breaker, so much so that when we were into week 3, I think, and they announced that it was going to be extended for another month, I was okay. I have a few friends who actually texted me, oh my gosh, yeah, are you okay? Like, don't break down, don't panic, are you alright? I was like, I mean, I wasn't like jumping for joy, but I was really and truly okay, right? And I think that made a difference, because I saw friends who, for the first month, they were okay. And then when the extension was announced, they really like struggled, and some of them actually broke down then. Because I think in their minds, like, I can just do 1 month, and then it was like, you extending it for another month. But for me, I think because I felt like those 3 weeks I had done the work, and I was okay. I was really okay. And then after that, the second month, it was just getting on with things, and I was honestly fine. That said, though, once we entered phase 2, I was like, yes, I am so going to meet my friends.
Yeah,
groups
I
of
can
5,
imagine.
no problem. But I'm still going to meet my groups of friends.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been following the videos that you post with Andy, and I specifically remember the one where I think did you guys record during circuit breaker as well, or
We did. We did
yeah.
some Zoom sessions during circuit breaker.
And I remember you were like, you said like you were dying, and Andy was like, actually I'm okay, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can relate to Andy more than you.
Yeah. So all the introverts were fine, especially in the first month. You know, but I think by the second month he had started to get the cabin fever, and he has 2 kids, so it was a little bit challenging, I think, for him. I mean, that part of it, like, hats off to all the parents. I don't have to deal with kids cooped up in a small apartment, right? I cannot even imagine that. But
Yeah.
I think he was one of those people, like, in the second month, it was a bit harder for him, because he was prepared to just do a month. But to me, I think a lot of what I've learned also, like tools and skills of resilience, really came into play, and that's why, like, I was really honestly fine, you know. And towards the end, I actually felt grateful for the time, because I feel like I learned to be by myself a lot more, and learn to like being by myself a lot more, you know.
Yeah.
Because, I wouldn't have forced myself to do that had we not been in circuit breaker. I know, Nick, you're probably like, what? You're probably thinking I had all this time to read and to do my own things, and I didn't have to meet people.
No, but to be fair, you know, like I also struggled, but it was also at the start, like you. The first 2 months was also a challenge, because for me, it was just adjusting to being productive at home, right? Like, for example, they're like, okay, now just work from home. And then it's like, as if there's this assumption that as if I have a great work office set up. It's not true, right? It's just a couch and, you know, Netflix. It's just not conducive. So and then there's just, you know, like, you're not sure how the economy will play out and stuff. So that circuit breaker kind of was difficult to adjust, because not only was I struggling in terms of productivity, I was worried that, oh no, if I'm not productive, am I going to be affected, like, job-wise? So like, it was just, I think it wasn't so much that I was stuck at home, but it was more like the repercussions of being at home and not being visible to I guess the bosses or just, you know, being productive and feeling useful. So I think that was my challenge more. Yeah, I suppose it's different.
I think a lot of people, and myself included, one of the huge things that I took away from the circuit breaker was to learn to deal with uncertainty. You know, as a person I'm really not a planner, and I'm a very spontaneous person. Most of the time it's like, hey, want to go to like Bali tomorrow? I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll check the flights, and if it's not too expensive, I would just book it, you know. So I am very spontaneous in that way, and actually with a lot of parts of my life. So I never thought I was someone who couldn't deal with uncertainty. Really, I was like, yeah, you know, all these people who can't deal with it, I'm fine. But actually, I realized that a lot of the unhappiness from myself, and also from talking to friends, a lot of everyone's unhappiness was dealing with this sense of uncertainty, and that's what I'm hearing from you as well.
Yeah.
Right? Is this like, will I still have a job after this? You know, how will my job be like? How will life be like? And for me, I think some of the anxiety was also, you know, stuff like that. And when we ran, Sheila, Claire, and myself, when we ran certain sessions online, the Wonder and Wellness sessions, a lot of people's anxiety we found stemmed from this sense of uncertainty, right? But then that is something that I learned, that actually once you realize that that's the thing that is bugging you, ironically, it's a lot easier to deal with after that. And once you accept that actually you really can't, we have no control. We have no control when the government's going to open up. We have no control over the disease, most of all, right? And then the sooner we can accept that, the sooner a lot of things are easier to deal with. Yeah. For me, that was like a huge lesson that I took away, at least.
Yeah, I think, and you're right. Like the simplicity of that answer is so true, and yet it's the hardest to practice, right? Because we all know, like, what can I do? But then at the same time, when it happens, you're like, oh my god, the world is over.
Yeah. So once you let go of that, you're like, I really, really can't do anything about it, you know. And I just might as well make the best use of my time now. For me, that was like the turning point. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna really, really tidy my house. Okay, it's still a little cluttered, you can see, but like really try as much as possible to clear out a lot of things, and to like just to clear out a lot of mess, physically, but also like, you know, literally, figuratively as well. And then I felt like, okay, this is actually like time that has been gifted to us, so just use it wisely.
Yeah. I'm curious, what did you learn about yourself, and on what are the techniques you learned to really acclimatize yourself to that new normal? Because you mentioned that whatever you learned from positive psychology and the science behind it has helped you. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
what those are.
So there are a lot of things, and some of them sound almost silly or trivial in its simplicity and in its like, yeah, I mean, of course, right? People would say that, but actually it's not. So science has taught, like, for example, resilience. There are a lot of things that build resilience and that contribute to your resilience, right? But it's just making sure that these things happen. So some of these are like, for example, being physically active and taking care of yourself physically, right? I mean, it sounds so like, yeah, of course, but honestly, when you're going through a terrible time or you're suffering like mentally because like for me, I can't see my friends. For you, it might have been like, oh no, what's going to happen to my job, right? But then if we forget to take care of ourselves physically, it's actually one of the worst things we can do. So, for me, for example, I have a group of girlfriends and we would meet on Zoom every morning at 8:30 to do insanity workout, which is honestly quite insane, It is quite insane.
Hence the name, yeah.
Yeah, it's really like, okay, I mean, I thought I was reasonably fit, but then when I did, I was like, what is this? But it was nice because it's a good challenge and it's a good time to like catch up and it's community, right? For the extrovert, is like I had friends, even though I saw them on Zoom. But then it also created a sense of like purpose, and it created like a certain routine, right? And then again, I was like, I didn't like routine, but certain rituals are important, right? So taking care of yourself during circuit breaker, I got a lot more sleep than I've ever gotten in my life. Things like that, and try to eat a bit healthier. So that's the physical side of it. And then another thing that builds up our resilience is the strength of our relationships. So like I said, I learned to reach out when I needed help, and I've learned that over the past few years, right? So part of it is also being able to be vulnerable. And interestingly, we also did a session on that for Wonder and Wellness, right? So I learned to, like, for example, when I said I was crying, I called my friends, I'm like, guys, I'm really suffering. And I would tell certain other friends, like, I really, really am not doing well, And then other things are like to find a sense of purpose and meaning. So it's funny you mentioned productivity because I'm no stranger to working from home or working from anywhere, right? But like you said, for people who are more used to an office situation, it's hard to get used to.
Yeah.
So there are produced videos like how to be more productive working from home. There are very small things that you can do to make it easier on yourself. And so like that's what I'm saying. So I found that from what I've studied, there are all these things that we can do. Something as simple as, for example, if you know you are prone to feeling sad or whatever, right? Why would you listen to sad songs, watch sad movies, and read sad books? Because I get very, very affected, especially by sad books. And so it's to the point where it's not that it's bad to be sad, but why do I want to do that? There's a time and place to be sad, like when someone dies or when something really bad happens, but I'm not going to make myself sad by reading a sad book. And that's just the choice that I've made.
Yeah.
So I've curated playlists that are like happy. There are like certain songs that are just happier than others. If you're a lyrics person, then it's based on lyrics. If you're a beats person, there are also, if you do research, there are certain songs that have a certain beat and a certain melody that are proven scientifically to put you in a good mood. Actually, the number one happy song, by the way, is "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. Interestingly,
is it really? Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's just taking the active steps for me to eliminate the chances for me to go into a black hole. Right. Yeah. So then you just give yourself all these tools to succeed, and you don't wait until like you're like wallowing in that horrible abyss, then you try to pull yourself out. It's a lot harder. Yeah. Right. But then if you take the steps like proactively to, like I said, stay healthy, to only consume content that you find positive, and to always keep in touch with your relationships and stuff. These are like tools that everyone can use, and I definitely used all of them in my arsenal, and I got not just got through. I'd like to think I actually thrived during the circuit breaker after the first week.
After the first week, but yeah. That's awesome, right? I mean, like now like almost like any sort of uncertainty and change, you can kind of adapt quickly because you kind of already have the tools in your arsenal.
Yeah, and for sure.
And it's funny because I can kind of resonate with what you said because like way back when I used to suffer from clinical depression for like about 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the one thing that I really learned and kind of practiced over time was just to understand the relation between the mind and the body. Because I remember I was speaking with my psychiatrist, and he says like, sometimes, if your mind is not right, don't worry, because your body and mind are connected. So if you eat healthy, you exercise, your body will tell your mind you are okay.
Yes.
And so because of that, your mind starts to reprogram and be like, oh, I'm
Yep.
okay, And then similarly, if you're not feeling healthy, and I mean, in terms of your gut health or your physical health, if you're self-forgiving and if you like do things like meditation and mindfulness, the reason why those are effective is because it's essentially telling the rest of your body that regardless of what is going on, it's okay. Like that you're practicing enough love for your body to be able to comprehend. I mean, it sounds fluffy, but your
No,
body
that's the
to
thing, right? Yeah.
yeah,
It sounds fluffy,
yeah,
right? But it is so true. You're like, sometimes your body can so-called trick your mind, but you should just help your body to trick your mind into being positive more.
right.
Right?
If it works, right, why not?
Yeah, and it does work. So sometimes, like, if you were like, for example, if you have to fake a smile, right? Even if you're faking a smile to yourself in the mirror, something as simple as that actually can help to. Your mind might be like, oh, I'm smiling, so I must be happy, right? And I think that's part of like what you're saying, and that's a lot of what I studied. And the body is such a powerful thing, and so is the mind, but they're not always in sync.
Yeah.
Right. So we might as well help ourselves. That's why I said I've just chosen to not consume negative stuff, just because why? Life is short, and I don't want to spend it being unhappy. So I will just consume what I feel will keep me mostly in a good mood.
Yeah. And that's great. I mean, I think half the battle is really awareness, right? And and we kind of take that for granted because we are like, oh, I mean, because like, the moment people start adding the new age science, I would say, of like those like mindfulness, meditation, and just being present and all those stuff, automatically we're like, oh, okay, it seems easy enough. There's no rush to do it.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's such a practice. Like, it's so hard to like master your mind.
It really is. Honestly, like, if I am such a like go out and pack my day kind of person, so this whole meditation thing was like, oh my gosh, so woo woo. What? Sit and close my eyes for like 20 minutes? What a silly idea! I could never do that, right? But then, honestly, meditation has helped me, and I've been encouraging people around me to try. And I do it for a really short time, like laughable, right? I tell people, like, if you just want to get started, just Google 1 minute meditation. And just do a 1 minute. Like, anyone can do 1 minute and move up to 2, 3, 4, 5, Before I sleep, maybe I do 10, but I never go beyond that. I'm sure it's better to go beyond that, but I find that that's the amount of time that I feel like I want to give to it, and it's okay. And I do feel like there is, it's really helped me, right? But learning the science has helped me to not dismiss it, right? Because it's true, because when you learn to meditate, then certain neurons are fired and certain connections are made that were not made before. So the brain becomes smarter, and it just is a lot calmer and less messy space. So I just do that like 1-2 minutes a day, and it's still better than nothing. So I encourage everyone, please, you just do it for 1-2 minutes a day. It's really better than nothing, and just give it a chance. Like, don't knock it, till you've tried it. Do 1 minute a day for a month, and then tell me if you feel different, because I'm quite sure you will.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious. I think this is a nice segue, because now you have all the tools and strategies of the things that you've learned either from life or from positive psychology training. But I'm curious. I like to go back to, because before this session, I was researching about how you came up, and you started with Miss Singapore Universe, and I remember in the article it said that you succumbed to the pressure of being super thin or wanting to look good. It feels like the elephant in the room, right? I mean, in terms of your line of work as an entertainer and stuff. I mean, how did you see that pressure then, and how do you look at stuff like that now? Because I assume you kind of experience the same thing every now and again.
Oh, of course. And yeah, there is, it's a huge elephant in the room, because it's so much a part, unfortunately, of this industry, right? That you need to look good. And it's just, anyone who tells you that you don't is lying, honestly, right? Because it's a visual medium, and it's just part of it. So then, I mean, the thing is, I've always naturally been slim, but there was this pressure to be ultra thin, right, leading up to the pageant. And it's like there's a segment where you're in swimwear, and then no girl wants like to have a poochie belly like sticking out, right? So then there was this like, I've always been lucky, I guess. I've been active in sports my whole life. I've played competitive sport, so I've never worried about my weight. or looking thinner. But then, like 1 week before the pageant, when we used to hang out, we had to hang out a lot that period because we had trainings and rehearsals, and everyone was like eating very little. I'm like literally talking about like a punnet of strawberries kind of little, like the whole day. Yeah.
Really?
And then the thing is, I don't even eat fruit and vegetables, which is a separate topic on its own.
Still, or do you eat them? Wow.
No, not really.
How do you look so healthy then? I mean, without eating fruit and vegetables.
I wouldn't advocate it, but I eat some fruit, but I don't like vegetables. So it's just, I watch everyone eat like either a salad or like a whole bunch of strawberries, and that would be their meal for the day. And I was like, I need to try this cutting out carbs thing, because everyone's like, if you cut out carbs, you will lose it very fast. So I was like, okay. It's just a week. You can do it for a week, Jade. Come on. It's like training for competition. I was like, okay, fine. And so I tried it, and it was just a week. That quote was given just on the back of like having tried this for a week, and I was miserable. I don't know how people can cut out carbs, but carbs are like such a happy food. I'm not saying that you should eat like overdose on it, but I think that it's horrible, honestly. So what it taught me is like it's horrible to deprive yourself of carbs. At least for me, or deprive yourself of something that you love. I think you can cut down. I think you can eat things in moderation, but it was horrible, right? And then the other thing was, it was horrible because if you're sacrificing all that, and then I'm like, am I getting thinner? And the thing is, I was already so thin, right? How much thinner could I get, So I mean, I guess because I tend towards being thin, I did drop weight really fast, like 2-3 kg just in that 1 week.
Wow,
and then it was
significant.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think I'm just used to feeding my body a lot. So like cutting out like that was really quite significant, but it was just not worth it. And which is why like to this day, I don't believe in dieting. I do have friends who ask me like, how do you stay slim at our age? I'm not exactly spring chicken, right? They're like, at our age, like it's not so easy to maintain being slim. I say, yeah, it's true. I mean, that is true. But I really feel like everything in moderation, now. And I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. There are some things that I try not to eat too much of. Like I hardly eat fast food, for example. But if I want, I will eat. I love Jollibee. But, I will. I just don't eat it every day. I try to I don't really eat a lot of dessert, for example. But again, I will have a cake because I like chocolate cake. And then if I do, then if I can't finish it, then I'll ask someone to share it with me. But I just think that it's just no fun living life, like cutting out whole food groups. And keeping to a strict diet. Firstly, because I'm a highly social creature. How do you go out and eat out if you have all these rules?
Exactly.
Secondly, food is a pleasure in life. And then you're denying yourself like a huge pleasure. So I mean, that's how I feel now. And the difference is the joy of being older is you're just a lot more confident. And I've realized that, especially as I get older, there will always be people who are younger, prettier. I mean, it's a fact of life, right? Yeah. And there's no point competing with that. Like every time you see a fresh new face, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you like, oh, I'm so old, I'm so ugly, I'm not as pretty, I'm not as thin. There is really no joy in that at all. So again, I think the sooner you can accept that there will always be someone younger, prettier, slimmer, fitter, whatever it is that you think is positive, there'll always be someone who is better, right? Yeah. Better. And once you can accept that first part, then you can accept the second part, which is, I'm pretty good myself. And then, that I have things that other people don't have. And by that, you would live a lot happier life. And like I said, I eat whatever I want. Yeah. Mostly, and then it's just balancing out with working out. So if you're active, you eat more. If you're not so active, you eat less. That's generally how I feel. And oh my gosh, I cannot imagine doing that 1 week ever again.
I know it's such a struggle, but I think there's something you said that really hit the nail. But I'm also curious on your thoughts. Do you think self-acceptance comes with age? Because it's only like in the recent few years that I've been comfortable with my acne scars and stuff like that. But when I was younger, I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. But now I'm like, yeah, who gives a shit, But yeah. So I'm curious, do you think it really comes with age or I don't know?
I think age helps. I can totally relate to acne scars. I know you can't see them now, but I had a really bad bout of acne when I was a teen. And actually it's something that I've struggled with all my life. Even though now, my goodness, in my 30s, I still have to deal with adult acne. Bouts of it.
I really don't see it, Jade. I don't know. I feel like that's a lie.
We're in a good skin phase now. Okay. But I mean, in all honesty, right? I'm not just saying that. It's something that I struggle with. And I actually made a video about it semi-recently during the circuit breaker. Okay. And it's been something that I've been so sensitive about, even, like I said, now in my 30s, talking about it even talking about it now actually makes me I'm still a little uncomfortable, right? But I'm a lot more comfortable than I was talking about it then. I used to get teased about it because I had like acne and stuff like that. And I think part of it does happily come with age. Hey, some good things have to come with aging, okay?
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
And I think a sense of self-assuredness, and actually, even if it's not so profound, just a sense that like actually I don't really give a shit anymore.
yeah,
Really? It's you just don't really care as much. That helps, and that comes with age. But the other part is I think people like you and myself, like we've done some work on ourselves to in our mind, you
yeah,
know, and I think all that helps with the self-love process. It really does. Like I really think that I'm still a huge work in progress when it comes to self-love still, but there is a huge difference and a huge increase in terms of level of acceptance. And good for you, because I feel like that's probably what's happened with you as well. You know,
yeah,
because you kind of know that at this point you have people who love you because of you. And yeah, acne scars, not the most fun thing at all, right? But you know, no one is perfect, and it's just part of it, lor. You know, I think
yeah.
we just don't focus on these things as much as you get older. You focus on the things that you're good at.
Yeah.
And a
I
huge
yeah, sorry. You were
Sorry,
saying.
no. So I think what drew me to positive psychology is that a huge part of it is that, right? Psychology, the conventional psychology focuses on the problems and how to fix it, and that's really important, right? Especially like if you said like you suffer from clinical depression before, you kind of need to fix that first. But positive psychology focuses on the good stuff and ways to enhance it, right? So I think maybe part of it for you, like you've realized that you're really good at certain things, and you focus on that, and then so all the things that you're not so good at, or like the scars and stuff, just don't matter as much. I think for
Yeah.
me, it's a lot of it is to do with that. Like I just stop focusing on the stuff that I'm not that good at, like acting maybe, right? And I focus on the stuff that I am good at, and then that kind of reminds me that yeah, I mean I have things that other people don't have, and so the
Yeah.
small things that like scars and stuff don't mean as much anymore.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, it's just a reevaluation, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
and also I suppose the older you get and the people who stay around with you and your close friends, when you realize they don't change, then you realize that the flaws you see in yourself are only really seen by you because your friends are like, huh? Oh, what? I mean, I never really noticed your scars
Yeah.
or that you don't really like to hang out, when we ask you to go out. But
Oh my gosh, you are really such an introvert. That is what I give my introvert friends so much crap for. I'm like, what is with this me time, guys? I want to see you. They're like, yeah, but kind of need some time alone.
I know. My friends always hate it because I mean back then they were like, so we going out this Saturday. I was like, yeah. But then on Saturday I'm like, actually, guys, maybe I'll see you
You are
next.
really, my gosh, my best friend is an introvert. So
Yeah.
I read Quiet by Susan Cain.
Yeah.
And it really actually helped me understand introverts a lot better. But I still roll
Yeah.
my eyes, okay, a little bit sometimes when they do something like that. But I understand a lot better, you know, how it's very tiring for an introvert to be out like for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, whereas for me it's energizing. And you know, I tell them, hey, I know you're an introvert, but can we try to find a middle ground? Like you can't like bail, but then I may not ask them out every week, for example. I know they need time on their own and stuff like that. Right? But
Yeah.
but that's just it. Like what you say, your friends love you for you, even though you may annoy them with like, you know, you're like, hey guys, I need some me time or whatever. The fact is like they just love you for everything else that you are, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that sort of acceptance and knowledge, knowing that comes a little bit with age.
Yeah. But although disclosure, because I read the book Quiet by Susan Cain as well,
Yeah.
I feel like she made us introverts sound very, I don't know, like very anal about being introverted, but I don't think that's true. We need our quiet time. We need, we don't like to be disturbed. Energy is depleted easily. That's not true, I think. But, I think it's just, we realize that with the finite energy we have, how are we going to efficiently use it before
Yeah.
it kind of runs down? You know what I mean? But then,
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt the book made it seem like, we talked to one person, it's over for the day. So, I don't know, it was an interesting book for me.
It was that's a very interesting perspective. I've not heard that perspective on that book. It did, I guess in a way it did, she did make introverts seem like that, but I think it also was nice. I took away from it like strangely, right, most of my close friends are introverts. Really, really, the closest ones, almost all of them are introverts. And I realized that it's kind of nice because I know that they pick me. to be their friend. With that little bit of energy that they have, they would like to spend their time with me. And the other thing that I took away from that book is if you're really close, like if you're in the inner circle of an introvert, you're kind of like, you don't really drain their energy as much because you're part of their world. And if they feel accepted, all that, then they don't feel like they have to try. And then it feels like it's just nice. It's not like I'm expending so much energy. So I think she didn't go deep enough into that. Because I did get a bit of the why are introverts so anal from the book.
Made it sound like a disability. I was like, what's going on? but it must be so nice for you to feel that, wow, all your introvert friends, and they still want to hang out with you, and they still accept your you wanting to hang out all the time. Must feel really good, huh? I mean,
that one does feel good. It does, although I did tell her, very hard to be your friend because I feel rejected half the time. Like I said, because actually you're not rejecting me, but you really just need this time alone. But I've just learned to understand sort of their patterns and stuff like that. And sometimes they tell me straight, they're like, you know what, Jade, after that, please make other plans because I cannot go with you to party because I'm really I will be spent by then. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to shift towards the more reflective questions because I'm also mindful of your time. I don't want to. I know your Sundays are busy. You've since going into this line of work. However you choose to define it, I think based on our first question, you'd rather not. What life lesson has taken you the longest to learn during this period?
Oh, wow. I would say that you can't plan everything and that it's okay to take the unconventional route. I think probably the second one took me the longest time, right? So I think I did talk a bit about the uncertainty bit, and that kind of ties into you can't plan everything, but I think the second part took me a long time to realize, to learn, and to accept. Because I was from a very normal heartland family. And in fact, my mom told me, no one in our family has ever been to university. So it was since, I was as little as I can remember, I was like, I'm going to do that. I'll be the first. And that was, a focus in my life. And I think growing up at that time, the narrative that was fed to us, both by the government and my parents, right, was if you study hard and you do well in school, you will do well in life and you will kind of be able to make a so-called better life, right? So when I grew up, we had very little luxuries because we just didn't have extras for that, so even something like going to kopitiam, we would either not order a drink or have to share a drink just because it's an extra, right? So something like that. So I told myself, when I'm older, I want to be able to spend money on whatever I want, whenever I want, without thinking so hard about things, right? So it was very single-minded. I'm gonna study hard, do well in school, and then go on to this amazing, wonderful life that's supposed to be waiting for you at the end of graduation, right?
Yeah.
So I did that. I mean, I mostly with some hiccups along the way, mostly did the so-called right thing. And I really didn't enjoy being in JC. I didn't. I thought the system was and then I didn't understand why I had to take econs. For example, I wanted to do a pure arts stream, but it didn't happen. So but then I stuck it through because in my head it's you just got to make it to uni. And I was afraid that if I went to poly that somehow that plan would get derailed, right? Because it was harder to go to poly then. So glad they've changed that, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So then I stuck it out and I went into uni and I was very focused, okay, I have to graduate with really good honors and I have to be on the dean's list and I have to make sure all that happens. So I made sure all that happened. But then after I graduated, I was so lost. I was like, what do I do now? I mean, I got decent offers from a few companies and I wasn't sure which one to take and which industry even to be in. And then MediaCorp called and then I was like, should I take it or should I not? But basically, it was a lot of the struggle. Even then, signing with MediaCorp was, this is the unconventional route. Is this going to lead me to the success that I told myself will happen? Right? So my parents, or my dad especially, was quite supportive. He's like, oh, it's just a 2-year contract. Just try for 2 years and then if it works, then it works lah. You would still have only lost so-called 2 years. So I did that and then 2 years became 3 years, became 4 years, became 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years. I had been in this industry and I was by then I was so in this industry that I was so worried that if I were to not sign on with the national TV station or radio station that I would be finished. Like, what would I be able to do, right? And I had a lot of struggles the whole time that I was actually signed with the station as well. When I saw my friends getting promoted to like mid-level managerial positions and stuff like that, I was like, in banks and stuff, I was like, that would have been me, you know, if I had done the so-called conventional route, if I had gone the conventional route. And I struggled so much with that, right? And then after that, when I left the TV station and I decided to do my own thing, wow, that was another struggle. I was like, at least then I was like assured of a certain regular salary and certain other things. And I'm like, now that I'm doing my own thing, I'm really taking the unconventional route. And I used to like prickle when people ask me like, what do you do? Like, I'll get very upset because I'll be like, am I doing anything at all? Now I don't get upset. I'm just like, how do I like when you ask me, how do I explain this like in a short answer way, right? It's just a bit more like of a logistic, like how do I do it? But then it used to upset me because I felt like, am I just not doing anything that's meaningful? Right. So I think I struggled so for the longest time with that, you know, thinking that I'm supposed to have this career, so to speak. And it's only in the past few years that I realized that actually the world is changing, right? Firstly, like there is no such thing as like this one career for life, for sure. But there's also a lot of people who do midlife career switches. And there are also a lot of people who have a job and then they do a lot of really cool things on the side, like you doing this podcast, for example, right? That is your passion, that hopefully would be your career as well. And I tell myself, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to be able to be doing my passion as a career, even though it's not the most easy to define, right? But I'm literally making a living doing what I really, really like. And there's nothing that I'm doing now that earns me money that I don't like. I mean, there's certain aspects that are a bit annoying about the job here and there, but I love the work, you know, and I'm like, I should be grateful for that and not think like, I'm not like a lawyer, doctor, banker, or whatever I thought was the conventional route. And I just feel like, wow, if the sooner I should have figured this out, the like less tormented I would have been. Right. Thinking about, you know, what is this route or what is the path in my life, what I'm going to be doing in 10 years' time. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter anymore to me. It's like, I know I'll be doing something meaningful and I'll be okay.
That's so powerful because, like, if you think about it, like, we are so ingrained in what we were taught, like, for so long that even when we're doing something we truly enjoy, in the back of my mind, we're like, is this what I should be doing?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like, but you're happy doing it. Why are you doubting yourself?
Yeah.
It's that education for... Or the nurturing that we went through for all those years that really contributed to that negative mindset, I think.
Yeah, it's really that. Like you're like, actually you're doing something that you really love and it actually pays your bills. My goodness, you should be like feeling like really lucky and not like, am I supposed to be like a lawyer or banker now? You know? It's just funny, and I understand why my parents thought like that because it was a different time then. And I mean, that's actually something that I don't know how to impart this to the younger generation. I feel like the kids who come from like business families or more well-to-do families that maybe have more of the advantage of being exposed to this sort of thinking or ideas from young, it is an advantage, right? And I would love to be able to somehow communicate that to kids that it's okay. You don't have to do the conventional path. And even if you're not from like a super well-connected family, you can make your own path and you can do your own thing. And the success or whatever people define as success is not that one picture, you know? And that's, I think, a huge part of what I hope to be able to communicate in a small way. The success is really like being happy, whatever that is.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and it's so funny what we deem as conventional, right? Because if you think about it, it's like our grandparents instilled in our parents what the conventional is. And when they didn't make it as that, they're like, okay, but now it's your turn to make the... But then by the time it reached us, like the conventional wasn't really being a lawyer or a doctor. It was, being, entrepreneur, whatever it is, right? But then for our kids, the convention might be esports gamer, you know, like you just never know what convention is. And I think it's time that we kind of shift the way we inspire people to do the things that matter to them, I suppose.
I like 100% agree with that, you know, and I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's just, I think it starts with just redefining what success is in life, and it will be a journey for everyone to discover that for themselves, right? But I think that's the number one question to start asking: what exactly would it mean to be successful?
Yeah. Final question, and I think it's a great segue because of what you said in your last sentence. What would the Jade of today advise the Jade of when she just got started, I guess, in her career, to be more successful in the way you choose to define success?
That is the big question, or a big question. I would, with a very unprofound answer, I would tell myself, can you chill the toot out? Seriously? Because I was so like, you know, I think like overly worried and overly ambitious, thinking about like, what's my next plan? Do I like, if I go into advertising now, what would be my 5-year plan? If I do banking now, what would I do after that? You know, and then all these worries when I was in school. And actually, if you just chill the hell out, like, and I just focus on doing the things that you enjoy and that you're good at each step of the way. I mean, I really enjoyed school, don't get me wrong, right? And I enjoy studying, but it's just like the thinking about what next was like what actually robbed my happiness, you know? And I think I would just say, chill the hell out and stop thinking about what next. You know, life is so unpredictable, honestly. So I would say, like, you know, create the best opportunities for yourself. Keep your eyes and ears open, and then grab, you know, the things that come your way and pursue and do whatever you can, like, to the best of your ability. But like really thinking too hard and worrying about stuff that you cannot control is what I'll tell myself. Please don't do that at that age. You have your whole life in front of you, my goodness.
Nice. Chill the hell out. Words to live by Jade Seah. that could be your autobiography, you know, the title of your autobiography.
Yeah, right. Chill the hell out. Really chill the hell out.
I love it. Jade, thank you so much for being on this podcast. For our listeners who don't know your channel and how to find you, do you want to just, you know, do a quick blurb about DELLAA and the other projects you're working on?
Okay, I guess the easiest way is to just follow me at Jade Seah on Instagram. And actually, I update almost everything there. Wonder and Wellness is just WonderandWellness.co. Either that was DELLAA.com, DELLAA.com. But yeah, actually just follow at Jade Seah. I'll update everything there. And yeah, I mean, I just hope that everyone, you know, makes the effort to help yourselves to be happier.
I love it. Following Jade Seah on Instagram is basically watching a lot of wakeboarding videos and realizing I'm a bum. Basically, because every morning at like, I don't know, so early in the morning and you're already wakeboarding, I'm like, am I so useless? I'm still waking up. But yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Jade. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you.